So he'll have a 5-inch height advantage. And after surviving the McCrary evening, he's 20-0. There's his last 5 fights. We'll show you the work prior to the McCrary fight. You see it? He could have worked a little harder against Smith and Muller. Then he went the other way and couldn't have impressed more against Codrington and Jackson. What a challenge it'll be for the 10-year veteran from Minnesota. 5'9", 164-pound Anthony Bonsante. He had to pull out of the scheduled April fight with Green because of a cut that was over his right eye. It happened in sparring. He is 26-7-1. He has lost 3 straight, but his last 5 will remind you the fact that most observers felt he really should be coming off a win. His 5-round decision loss to Jesse Brinkley, that was one of the more controversial fights of 2005. Well, the other day on Wednesday Night Fights, Teddy described this matchup as an open-wheel Indy car racing against a stock car. Now he breaks it down in further detail with the fight plan.
Look for Allan Green tonight to stand up in front of all his hometown fans and show there's only one contender here in this town, and that's him. I look forward to do it with his strength. Screaming for joy.
And that's the way it is right now in anticipation for Allan Green. Former National Golden Gloves champ and a 26-year-old who folks here in Tulsa think will represent them with a world title. 10-round fight. Gerald Ritter is the referee.
Protect yourself at all times. Keep your punches up, touch gloves, let's go.
Allan Green pulling away quickly there. Bonsante banking on his superior ring experience to win him this fight. 16 more fights, 122 more rounds. And you saw a little bit of the attitude of Allan Green there as they went to touch him up, and he was pulling away, barely touching him up. Bonsante was quite upset yesterday at a press conference when Green would not shake hands with him. He said he's never seen that before, and let it be known that Green talked a lot of smack coming into this fight.
And let it be known, Green coming out fast.
Just like he did against Jadon Codrington. We will identify the men with the color of their gloves. Green wears the white gloves tonight, Bonsante in the black gloves tonight. Both men wearing the black trunks with white trim.
Green throws a good left hook. He can set it up off the jab. He can lead with it. And as we showed in the fight plan, he's pretty good at countering it when you come forward and walk into it.
Green putting out that jab. There's a look at the left hook. Doesn't land. Bonsante scores with the jab. He pulled out of the previously scheduled fight with Allan Green because of a cut over the right eye. Green was very, very suspicious about the injury to Bonsante. He thought Bonsante was ducking it.
Well, Bonsante right now is stepping straight back. When you step straight back and your opponent, like Green, has fast hands and long arms, that can be very dangerous. You think you're out of range and you're not out of range.
Allan Green working with John David Jackson as his trainer for this fight. The former world champion, of course, was preparing Shane Mosley for his first fight with Fernando Vargas, and recently did stellar work with Bernard Hopkins, winning the light heavyweight title away from Antonio Tarver.
Well, you can see the tactic of Bonsante, and he needs a tactic. We've already established he cannot stay on the playing field with pure athletic ability, because that belongs and that favors Green. Bonsante wants to box a little bit, use his legs a little bit, go in and out, keep Green the bigger, stronger, faster guy off balance. And as you saw earlier, Bonsante wants to negate that strength on the inside by tying up Green. You can't be the bigger, stronger guy if you can't use your arms.
Green working well with that jab.
Bonsante likes to use a jab. Not as fast, not as spectacular as Green's, but it can be effective, it can be accurate, and it can be thrown at the right time. What he has to be careful with, though, sometimes Bonsante throws that jab from too close. And if you do that, you can leave yourself open to counter right hands.
Good quick work with that jab there. Green being more patient as this first round has gone on.
Right now, Bonsante not talking with his mouth, but with his style, with his approach. He's telling you, yeah, I know what my disadvantages are, and I'm doing something about it. I'm moving, I'm boxing, I'm trying to use strategy.
He did it.
Guys, are you sick of feeling fat and tired? Has your sex life slowed down or even come to a screeching halt?
Introducing Nutrisystem for men.
Look at these guys. They all lost a ton of weight with Nutrisystem. You can too.
Order today and get 4 full weeks of awesome food. Plus, you'll get an extra week of hearty meals free. The secret to the system is the glycemic index, a science that separates good carbs from bad. So now you can eat pasta, burgers, even pizza.
Come on, get back in the game.
Since Nutrisystem, my sex life is excellent. I feel I'm back again. I feel like better than I did in high school.
About $10 a day gets you 4 full weeks of rib-sticking meals.
If you want to lose weight, pick up the phone and change your life.
I'm 40 years old. I'm in the best shape of my life.
Order our 4-week men's program and get an extra 7 breakfasts, lunches, dinners, and desserts, a full week of food, and a $70 value absolutely free. So call now.
Round number 2, the scheduled 10-round main event. Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas ringside here on Friday Night Fights, presented by Just for Men Hair Color. In that first round, the undefeated Allan Green with the white gloves was 18 of 30 on his jabs. Green looking over to referee Gerald Ritter, complaining of being tied up on the inside. He may see more of that as the evening goes on. Bonsante has to fight smart, has to make up for the differential in the athletic gifts.
You never know how an athlete, in this case a fighter, is affected by a scare. The way the undefeated Green had a scare in his last fight with Donnie McCrary, where he was on the floor and almost got knocked out. But just going by the scale, nothing else, Green was affected. He came in 162.5 pounds, the lightest of his career.
Which leads me to an interesting question. Should he be contending as a middleweight
Very
to
good
shave off those last 2 pounds and get to 160?
Well, that's a great question. I will tell you this much. He has the option, the great option that very few athletes, very few fighters have. He could fight at light heavyweight, at super middleweight, or at middleweight.
And there is an interested middleweight observer here tonight that we will visit with later on. The middleweight world champion, Jermaine Taylor.
Green looks like he's the cat who's getting closer and closer to trapping that mouth. He's trying to line up Bonsante. He's taking his time. He's feinting Bonsante a little bit, trying to get a defensive move out of Bonsante so he can find him.
We had Ring Magazine's knock out of the ear, and there's a knockdown, a delayed reaction after after the left hand by Anthony Bonsante.
5, 6, 7.
He can strike quick, Allan Green.
And there's enough time left in the round. He mustn't just strike quick right now. He must strike smart.
Let him go.
And not allow Bonsante to fall in and smother him. Bonsante's job is to smother and to tie up. Green's job simply is not to get tied up and to keep that offense going.
Short right hand, Bonsante ties up.
That is Bonsante's job right now. Usually your job is to win rounds. Right now, Bonsante's job is to survive a round. Green's job is to keep distance and not go crazy, not go headhunting. He went a little crazy, didn't keep enough distance, won a 10-8 round, but lost out on the opportunity.
Get your head together
to
now.
finish
Get
his
your
man.
head together, nice and smooth. Tony, everything okay? Can you see decent? Huh? All right. You got to get your head together. You got to get your legs under you. Box him this when the round starts. Box him. Move, stick and move, and you got to throw that right hand behind the jab, Tony.
Here's a look back at the knockdown, Teddy.
Well, right here, we talked about the left hook in the fight plan, and we talked about the availability for that left hook. And you saw it right there. Bonsante reaches in a little bit. His upper body gets ahead of him. And as he reached in a little bit after that right hand, you could see the left hook finds the mark of Green.
And
by
Teddy,
Green.
let's talk about the mark that it found, because that's that spot right in the back side of the ear where you get that equilibrium reaction, and you see the look on the face of Bonsante where you got to find your legs, and your equilibrium can be greatly affected for a little bit.
Yes, they can. You hit, like you said, behind that ear.
Punches up.
A lot of things can happen. Not good things to the man being hit.
There are the headshots, 40%, throwing 100, landing 40. The most brutal being that left hand in the second round. Oh, here he comes again.
And here comes the left hook again. And here
Right
comes
hand.
the speed. And there, once again, yes, speed, yes, size. All those things, all that talent of Green, but forgetting the technique right there to keep distance and not allow Bonsante to grab him and stop all that talent from being used.
Uppercut blocked, but Bonsante throwing something now. Trying to get his feet underneath him here. 2 minutes to go in the third round. Floored in the second round. He's a tough guy from a tough town, is Tony Bonsante.
But right now he's standing in front of Green a little too much.
Ate a right hand moments ago. Tried to go with it. Trying to show some movement now.
See, where Bonsante is standing right now does not serve him, because the longer reach belongs to Green. Green can reach Bonsante right about there.
That's the danger zone right at the end of the punch.
Bonsante cannot reach Green from there. So Bonsante can do nothing but get hit from there. If he wants to do some hitting, he has to come forward. And when he comes forward, it can be perilous territory.
5'9" versus 6'2".
What you just saw there is one of the things that is helping Bonsante. Green a little over anxious, overshooting himself and smothering himself, allowing Bonsante to tie up in spots.
Just missed with a right hand. Bonsante, a touch of head movement saved him that time.
You know Green is taller, he's quicker, he's longer. And you can see that he has a nice left hook, and he caught Bonsante stepping out. It's up to Green to move those hands where he can take full advantage of the things that I just talked about. Punch at the right distance, not fall in like he just did there. Punch at the right distance where he can catch Bonsante, get full extension on his punches, and keep Bonsante from reacting back, from evening things up.
Allan Green in complete control at the end of 3.
When something is real, you know it. Introducing new Just for Men. Its new True Color formula targets only gray. Easy as shampooing for a natural look that is real. Real to the eye, real to the touch. Real where it counts. New True Color Just for Men.
If you're looking to ramp up your ride, get ready. Advance Auto Parts has a brand new special order center just for you. Your one-of-a-kind, one-stop shop for everything you could ever want in parts and performance accessories. Everything from lift kits to cool custom accessories is ready for direct-to-your-door delivery or convenient in-store pickup. When you want the most complete selection of parts and accessories, the only place to go is the new special order center in Advance Auto Parts.
We're ready in advance.
There's Jody and Seth Paredes here watching the fights. They won a contest, Joe, not too long ago, a contest that was done by Everlast, of course, the apparel and equipment company, and a name that's synonymous with boxing. They won a contest in their catalog to come to New York a couple months ago and train in Gleason's. And there was no other better trainers or no good trainers around. So they wound up throwing me in there to train them.
Why do I have a feeling you didn't go soft on them?
Well, they got on that plane a little bit more tired than they were when they first got to New York. Nice people.
Round 4. Tony Bonsante trying to survive against the undefeated power-punching prospect, Allan Green. Bonsante hit the deck in the second round after a left hook right to the ear from Green. Green has been sharp tonight. 10-8 second round, 30-26, a real uphill battle for Bonsante. And remember, he said he wanted to survive those early rounds and hope for the best in the later rounds. He's got to get to those later rounds at this point.
Even though Green is bigger, stronger, faster, the only place that Bonsante has been safe has been in close. Because Green not really an inside fighter, but on the outside with those quick hands and those long arms of Green, Bonsante keeps himself right in those crosshairs of the guns of Green.
Punch track numbers, you see Green utilizing the jab. 52% of his jabs landing. Bonsante not making any contact there with that three-punch combination.
The moments where Bonsante has had some success has been in close, where he'll put punches together and he'll score. Again, Green not really an inside fighter, but there's a big danger to those moments, because when Bonsante does get in close, he has to travel towards Green, and that's an opportunity for Green with the quick hands to do some counterpunching.
Stop!
Short right hand. Bonsante wraps up.
Break!
Coming to the end of this fourth round, Allan Green chiseled himself down to 162 pounds, undefeated, 20-0. An impressive power puncher, had Ring Magazine's knockout of the year, and says, you know what, I'm 2 pounds away. I may contend as a middleweight in the near future. Fittingly, the middleweight champion of the world came here to be ringside with us tonight. Good evening, Jermaine Taylor. How are you?
I'm all right.
So what do you think of Allan Green, and is he in your future plans way down the road?
I think he's a great fighter. I think he still got a little work to do, and I'll be looking forward to seeing him.
Last week, Teddy Atlas and I were in L.A., and Sergio Mora joined us, and there has been so much talk of a potential fight between you and the Contenders Season 1 champion. What can you tell us? Where does it stand?
I'm a fighter. I'll fight anybody. It doesn't make a difference who it is. I just go in there, and I just take care of business. If he want to fight me, yeah, I'll be glad they make the fight happen. Whoever. If it's Winky, it's Winky. I'm ready to fight whoever.
If you fight him and you win that fight, are you going to take over the network? Are you going to be in charge of the Contender?
That's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be me. It's going to be me, Sugar Ray, and
Is that a fight that you really want? I know there's talk out of there that, you know what, Jermaine Taylor deserves that kind of a fight because he's been in with Hopkins twice and then Winky Wright, so he deserves that kind of a fight where he'd be a big favorite. Is that a fight you want?
Well, to tell you the truth, you know, I'm the type of guy I want to take the big fights. You know.
So I'll take that as a somewhat no.
No, it's not that. I mean, he's a great fighter. Don't get me twisted. But I'm the type of fighter I like to fight. You know, a Winky Wright, Hopkins type guy. You know, I'm a fighter, baby. That's what I like to do.
I think your promoter and manager, though, would like one like this.
I think so, too.
Round number 5 here between Green and Bonsante. What have you seen between Green and Bonsante, Jermaine Taylor? What do you see that you really like out of Allan Green, and what do you see as a potential flaw?
I think Allan Green has a great jab. His speed is great. He has great power. He stays busy.
And what does he need to improve on?
I just think he needs to improve on, you know, just getting a little more meaner with it. You know, I mean, he's mean with it.
But it's a left hand.
You know.
That's that left hook we talked about in the fight plan. Bonsante coming forward and leaving himself just a little bit available to that good counter left hook. And the speed you just talked about, Jermaine, of Green.
Yeah. Oh, good body shot.
Yeah, nice body shot. The right hand from Allan Green.
How important is it? What I see a little similarity, of course he doesn't have the experience and hasn't done the things you've done yet, but Green is tall, he's long, he's got quick hands like you. It serves him to be on the outside to use those actions.
Oh, look at that left hand.
Another good left hook right there. And Bonsante, this is what I'm talking about. For you to be your best, you need to be on the outside, use that long jab, use that speed. How important is it for Green to learn not to let guys do this, come inside and smother them? How important is that?
It's very important. I mean, as you see when he threw that hook, he caught him from the outside, and the boy just came in. And I have the same problem about lunging in.
Exactly.
He's catching him with good shots from the outside.
Green. Jermaine Taylor, what a nice visit it was to have you with us ringside. Best of luck in the future.
Thank you so much.
Taylor, the middleweight champion of the world. Big round for Allan Green. Bonsante trying to stay in there. Stunned and hurt. Staggered a few times here in the 5th round. Green all over him.
Well, right now it's the job of Bonsante once again. He had this job earlier in the night. He didn't want this job, but he's got it. To survive, to move, to use his legs, to try to keep Green off balance. I went inside, well now he's down, but to smother up Green, it's the job of Green now if Bonsante gets up, Joe, to finish the job and not get tied up and keep distance where he can keep that offense going.
This fight is over. Look at the right side of the face of Anthony Bonsante.
Too big, too strong, too fast, and too many left hooks by Allan Green with Bonsante.
Allan Green said, "Don't be fooled. Don't think that I'm slipping after what you saw against Donnie McCrary. Slipping? I think not."
Green found something early that worked. We were talking about in the top, it's one thing to have all the advantages, and Green had all the advantages. But it's another thing to find a place to use those advantages, to understand your opponent's weakness. Green understood that. And the big advantage that Green used all night long was the ability to land that left hook.
The left hook critical tonight. Came through with it in the 2nd round for a knockdown, but in the 5th round, he couldn't miss with the left hook, Teddy.
He found out early that it worked, and to Green's credit, he stayed with it late. There were plenty of opportunities for that left. If Bonsante reached in, he countered him with the left hook. If Bonsante pulled back, he stepped with him like that and caught him with the left hook.
For the official particulars of Allan Green's destruction of Anthony Bonsante, we send it up to the ring to Mark Fierro.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time, 2 minutes, 37 seconds of the 5th round. The winner by technical knockout and still undefeated, Allan Sweetness Green.
Allan Green, 21-0 with 15 knockouts. Tony Bonsante, from reality show to harsh reality. The 8th loss of his 10-year career. Oh, what a night for the hometown kid in Tulsa. Allan Green. He said, don't be fooled. Nobody was here. An impressive showing. The 5th round knockout of Anthony Bonsante. Let's send it back to Brian Kenny.
Well, Joe, look, that's a bad matchup, and Allan Green is a bad matchup for most people at super middleweight or middleweight. Speaking of the Contender, the season premiere of the Contender on ESPN this past week, and week 1 in keeping with Contender tradition. Let's take a look at the highlights. The guy who was kind of the unofficial top seed, guy thought of as the top fighter in the group, is the man on the right, Michael Clark. Michael Clark comes in, world-class experience, but coming in against the guy who was the last man selected in the Contender Playground draft. He really struggled. Cornelius Bundridge, 33 years old, had good balance, had a very good jab. Again, the last guy picked as they picked each other and picked off teams, blue and gold teams. And here in the 5th round, rather, a right hand puts down Michael Clark. K9, Cornelius Bundridge, with a stunning win to take out Michael Clark. And again, we've seen Michael Clark a lot here on Friday Night Fights in main events. He is done. He's out of the Contender. Remember, last year it was Anthony Manfredo who lost, who was the top guy, lost in his first fight, but he got back in when Jeff Frazier got chicken pox. The second bout, Nito Norberto Bravo, 35 years old, one of the second chance, last chance contenders, very experienced, taking on Rudy Cisneros in the yellow. Cisneros came out smoking. He had a great first round. From there, though, from what we've seen anyway, Norberto Bravo took over. Bravo, again, very experienced, high level of competition. He's been in there with Demetrius Hopkins and Ben Tacky in his last bout. Bravo beats Cisneros, Rudy Cisneros, 8-1, now 8-2, 24 years old. He's out. So there's the gold team right there. You see Gary Boletto hasn't fought yet. Ebo Elder, Stephen Forbes, Jeff Frazier, mentioned him. A lot of experienced guys. The guys that you've seen here, again, main events here on Friday Night Fights. Whereas the blue team, they're all still in. Nick Acevedo has yet to fight. Andre Eason, Michael No Joke Stewart, and again, into the second round, K9 Cornelius Bundridge moves on. And so does Norberto Bravo. You can see the Contender every Tuesday, 10 o'clock Eastern, over on ESPN. Again, you'll see the rest of the first round. They'll continue on coming up this Tuesday, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Well, once again, Allan Green on the way up, had that bit of a slip, got knocked down, rattled, but here, totally dominant and looked marvelous. Let's go back to him with Joe and Teddy.
Thanks, Brian. There is a buzz here in Tulsa, and they are hopeful that this town will be soon represented by a world title hopeful, Allan Green, on his way, the 21st win of his career. It happened moments ago, and the left hook was the key to it. Let's take a look back at some of the action against Anthony Bonsante. Allan Green now joins us. Allan, appreciate your work.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it a lot. You know, I was getting a little antsy at first in the beginning, but my new trainer, John David Jackson, told me to settle down a little bit and go back to the key, which is the jab. You need the key to open the door. So I opened the door and I got him.
What are you smiling about so much? Why
I'm just happy, man.
Smiling?
I'm just happy today, man. You know when you feel good, you just want to smile.
It's a different feeling than the last time you were with us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What took you so long?
I don't know, man. I was just trying to take my time. I wanted to get some rounds in. You're right. I could have been a little more assertive early on, but he's kind of cagey. Kept rushing in and grabbing me and doing different things. So I didn't want to make myself look bad, which at times I did by swinging wild and missing him. So I settled down, went back to the jab, started going to the body more and open it up.
Well, you're conscious of the right things. You're conscious of more than just having ability.
Oh, yeah. I'm conscious of a lot of that.
You have to be responsible for many things.
Exactly. You have to. And be responsible and be careful and not catch crazy punches like I did the last fight.
And one other thing, a little bit, very hard to give you any demerits tonight.
Yeah.
But with your size, with your speed, with your length, you know a lot of guys are going to try to fall in and smother you. You have to find a way not to allow that to happen.
And the reason why I allowed it to happen, because I was worried about throwing one shot too much instead of, you know, moving to side and picking my spots. I was getting a little antsy, a little over anxious, and so when I would try to throw a hard shot, he would get in and grab me instead of me using my jab and sitting down.
I'll give it to you tonight.
Okay.
Not the next time.
Okay.
Let's talk about where your career stands real quick. Jermaine Taylor was ringside.
Yeah.
He was impressed. You were only 2 pounds away from 160 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
What's the future?
The future, well, we can do it. I can go down to 160. It don't make me no difference. You know, we can go to 160. I'll take Taylor. But I believe we have Lacey waiting in the wings, so hopefully we can get something going on with Lacey.
Where do you feel most comfortable? You have 3 choices. You could fight light heavyweight, super middleweight, and middleweight. Where do you feel best? Where's Allan Green fit in best?
Wherever the money's at. Wherever the money's at, that's where I feel best.
Well, let's just wrap this up real quick because there was a report we heard tonight that there's a potential Lacey fight in October.